there. I am painting today a New Hampshire river scene. It kind of looks like a creek, but I'm pretty sure it was a river. And all of these beautiful rocks were along the side with beautiful trees and the rushing water. And I thought, yep, I'm going to paint that in my sketchbook. I'm first starting out with Daniel Smith watercolors. Later on, I'm going to add some gouache. And I kind of feel like I probably could have done this step with the gouache instead of watercolor. But I wasn't really sure what I was going to be expecting from this painting. So that's why I did that. The first thing I did was I put in a really light wash of a neutral color, and then I splattered in and dropped in some blobs of paint to represent where rocks are going to go. The only rocks that I put intentionally in the painting when I drew in were the main focal rocks. Then I am putting in the water right there. And it's just going to be a mixture of the colors that I'm using in the rest of the painting. And now I'm putting in a darker background to represent where it's dark within trees. This was easy, but not easy. So I just want to highlight that while I have been painting for quite a while, sometimes it's hard for me to figure out how I'm going to tackle painting. And in this one, I just jumped in with reckless abandon, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to figure it out along the way. So right now I'm putting in shadows of potential rocks. And I'm even put a little bit of a ring all the way around it on some of those, as you can see. It's to basically just block them out and say, okay, I think a rock is going to live there. And while I didn't need that, I needed it at the time. So let me explain that a little bit better. When I look at my painting now, I do not love that I put the entire ring around the rock. However, I needed it when I was working on it because I needed it that visual. So is it bad that that is in my final painting? Absolutely not. I still love the way this turned out. So even though you might not have an idea of how you want to complete a painting, just start it. Just start it and you'll figure it out along the way. It might take you some time to figure it out, and you might, have to abandon a painting and start over at some point, but who cares? That's fine. That's part of the learning, I think. I have painted plenty of these types of paintings and hated them. It just takes time to get used to it. That's all. So now I'm adding in a little bit more concentration of color on those rocks. And I am not making them matchy-matchy. I am making them all different colors because that's how it really is out there. I guess in some parts of the world, the rocks are not different colored, but in New Hampshire, they are. I'm also adding some more definition to the rock up front, and I don't like it. I'm going to change it in a little bit because right now it looks a little bit like a butt. Yes, I said butt. I am a juvenile. What I loved about the trees, one, is that they were white. And two, their roots were sprawling. I mean, they almost look like monsters that were just walking and trying to navigate through the rocks. I loved that about them. And I tried my hardest to make sure to get that in this painting. I think I did. I think I'm going to need for you to let me know if you get that. And I'm just going to keep going over and over those rocks and adding shadows and adding highlights. Now, when I say adding highlights, I mean in the watercolor step, I am lifting the paint out. So I'm using my brush, add a little bit of water to it, not a lot, but a little bit, putting the brush down on the paper on where I want to lift a highlight, wetting it, and then blotting it with a paper towel. So the background is too light. It's one of my struggles. I have a feeling it's always going to be one of my struggles to add in a sufficient dark color where you need it. I don't know why that is. I have theories. It's either I don't mix up enough paint, or I try to thin it out too much and then it ends up being lighter than I want it to be. So watercolor does dry later, so that's part of the problem right there. But I really think it's one of those two, is that I just don't mix enough and then I spread it out. But see, I feel like I did it again already. I feel like it's too light up there. I'll come back and fix that though. Okay, so now I have gotten out my Holbein Artist's gouache because I realize I just need a little extra oomph. Now, I feel like looking back at this, it was fine without adding the gouache on the rocks. I just needed it in the water. But once you start, it's kind of hard to stop. So I'm just adding it. Wherever I feel like I need it, I'm putting it in. And I'm using a mixture of different colors. Again, I don't want those rocks to be all the same colors. So I'm just using some, something like a yellow ochre kind of color, or a little bit of an ultramarine kind of color. Just mixing it up, having fun with it. A little bit of green here and there. And then I'm going to add a little bit of darkness under those as well, because I felt like my contrast was a little bit off. That's kind of like a ebb and flow kind of thing for me. It's like, is it bright enough? Yeah. Is it dark enough? Yeah. Is it bright enough now? No. Fix it. That was probably a little darky, but that's me, people. That's me. This painting took me about an hour and a half, and I have sped it up to 800%. So it is a lengthy process to do this kind of painting. And oh my goodness, this isn't very big. It's in my sketchbook, which is approximately 4.5 inches square. So it's not a large painting by any means. So don't expect to get them done as quickly as this. That probably didn't need to be said, but I'm going to say it anyway. To paint a detailed painting in a sketchbook or on canvas or anywhere is going to take some time, and you have to be able to either set aside that time at once or keep coming back to it in little increments. I don't like coming back to paintings. I like to knock them out and get them done because I'm that kind of person that needs immediate results. So if you are the same kind of person, set aside some time to enjoy the process. So adding those leaves in the background, since the background is not really dark, the colors I'm putting in for the leaves are just kind of meh. There's not enough contrast. And I figured I need to bump up the color or the saturation of the water, because I'm going to add gouache on top to make it look like it's rushing water. And I really needed that contrast. So the way it was just too light, because again, that's how Karen rolls. It just really needed to be bumped up a bit. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit more dark in the background so that the leaves pop out. And I'm just loosely painting around those leaves that I already put in. Okay, here comes the rushing water. So I used white and mixed it with other colors that are in the painting because I don't want just straight white right away. I want to build it up because rushing water, the bright white is like the action area It's like the real fast moving stuff, and you have to have darkness in order to have the light. Thank you, Bob Ross, for that quote. It's extremely true. You do. So look at those little rushing waves and waterfalls, and oh, I love them. They're so cute. I love them. It was hard to put them in because I couldn't see from the shininess of the paint, so that's why I'm tilting it up a little bit. And I kept feeling like I had to keep putting layer upon layer upon layer to build up to get that color that I wanted. And a little bit more highlight on the rocks. So this is where I'm adding that bright white, because I've put all of the other tinted white underneath, so I'm adding the bright white now. And I decide to call it done. This is it. I need to stop playing with it and call it finished. And I'm really happy with it. There are things I would love to change, yes, but overall, I really love how this looks on my sketchbook. Let me know if you have ever tackled something like this, and did you find it easy? Did you find it difficult? So yeah, leave me a comment, let me know. Please like and subscribe. That would really help my channel. Thank you for joining me.